Have you ever picked up a product you've been buying for years and thought something looked different? Maybe the package feels lighter. Maybe the box looks almost exactly the same. Maybe the price hasn't changed much. But somehow, you're running out of the product faster than you used to. You're not imagining the possibility. Sometimes companies reduce the amount of product inside a package while keeping the packaging surprisingly similar. It's one of the reasons grocery shopping can feel more expensive even when the price tag doesn't appear dramatically different. This is often called shrinkflation. Instead of raising the price significantly, a manufacturer may reduce the quantity. A box that used to contain more servings may contain fewer. A package that once lasted your family for weeks may now disappear sooner. And because the outside packaging can look almost identical, the change isn't always obvious. That's why today's video is going to focus on 10 grocery items that are worth checking carefully the next time you're shopping. We're not saying every brand has reduced the size of every product. And package sizes can change for many reasons. But these are categories where consumers may notice smaller quantities, different serving counts, or redesigned packaging. The important thing isn't to panic. It's to pay attention. Instead of looking only at the big price printed on the shelf, look at the *** unit price ***. Check the net weight. Compare the number of servings. And if you've been buying the same product for years, occasionally compare the current package with an older one. Because sometimes the biggest change isn't the price. It's what's actually inside the package. And if you're trying to control your grocery budget, that difference matters. Today we're counting down 10 grocery items that may be quietly shrinking in size. Some are products you probably buy regularly. Others may be hiding in your pantry right now. Before we start, subscribe to Prepper Pulse and turn on notifications. We upload new videos daily with practical grocery tips, preparedness strategies, food storage ideas, and ways to shop smarter. Now let's count down 10 grocery items you should keep an eye on. Starting with number 10. Number 10. Breakfast cereal. Starting at number 10 is one of the easiest grocery categories to overlook when you're thinking about shrinking package sizes. Breakfast cereal. Walk down a cereal aisle and you might see a large, colorful box that looks almost identical to the one you've been buying for years. But the important number isn't the size of the box. It's the net weight printed on the package. Cereal is a perfect example of why packaging can sometimes be misleading. A box can look substantial while containing less product than an older version. And if the price stays similar, you may not immediately notice that you're actually paying more per ounce. There's another reason cereal can be difficult to compare. Different brands use different box sizes. One package might be slightly taller. Another might be wider. Some contain more airspace than others. So judging value by the physical size of the box isn't reliable. The better approach is to check the net weight and unit price. If you regularly buy the same cereal, pay attention to how long a box normally lasts. If your household used to get 10 breakfasts from a package and suddenly you're getting 8, that difference adds up over time. And you don't necessarily have to switch brands. Sometimes simply comparing the unit price between different package sizes can reveal which option actually gives you more food for your money. Also pay attention to promotional packaging. A product may be advertised as a special value while the actual quantity is smaller than a previous package. That's why the price per ounce or price per 100 grams figure can be much more useful than the headline price. Cereal also provides a good reminder about grocery budgeting in general. A product doesn't have to become dramatically more expensive at the checkout to cost you more. If the quantity decreases while the price remains similar, your effective cost has increased. So the next time you're shopping for cereal, don't just ask, "How much does this box cost?" Ask, "How much cereal am I actually getting for that price?" That small habit can help you spot shrinkflation and make better comparisons. Breakfast cereal earns the number 10 spot because it's a common household purchase, easy to compare by weight, and a category where package size can matter significantly to your grocery budget. And the next item is something that can disappear from a household surprisingly quickly. Number 9. Ice cream. At number 9 is a grocery item where shrinkflation can be especially easy to miss. Ice cream. Think about the classic ice cream container. For years, Many shoppers became accustomed to certain tub sizes. But the container sitting in the freezer aisle today may not necessarily hold the same amount you remember. And because the package can still look large, you might not notice the difference until you start comparing the net contents. That's why ice cream is worth checking carefully. Look at the volume listed on the package. Then compare it with another brand or an older container if you still have one at home. Two tubs can look almost identical while containing noticeably different amounts. And here's where unit pricing becomes important. If one container costs $5 and another costs $5.50, the second one might appear only slightly more expensive. But if the second container is considerably smaller, the actual cost per serving can be much higher. There's another trick that can make comparisons difficult. Different brands don't always use the same container sizes. One may sell ice cream by the pint. Another may use a slightly smaller tub. Some premium products may use even smaller containers while positioning themselves as specialty products. That doesn't automatically make them a bad purchase. It simply means you should compare the actual quantity. Ice cream is also a product where consumers can notice the change through how quickly it gets used. If your family used to enjoy several servings from one container and now the same-looking tub disappears much faster, the difference becomes noticeable. The best way to protect your grocery budget is simple. Check the net quantity, check the unit price, and compare similar products. Don't assume the biggest-looking container contains the most ice cream. And don't assume a familiar brand is automatically the best value. Ice cream earns the number 9 spot because package volume can change while the container still looks familiar, making it easy for shoppers to overlook the difference. And the next grocery item is something many households buy regularly, but the quantity inside the package can be surprisingly easy to underestimate. Number 8. Potato chips. At number 8 is a snack that can make shrinkflation especially obvious once you start paying attention. Potato chips. Have you ever opened a bag of chips and thought, wasn't this fuller before? There can be a perfectly normal reason for some of that empty space. Chips need room in the package to help protect them from being crushed during transportation. But the amount of actual product inside the bag is what matters. And that's where the net weight becomes important. A large-looking bag doesn't necessarily contain as many chips as you might expect. Manufacturers can change the amount of product while keeping the overall package design familiar. The bag can still look almost identical on the shelf, but the number printed on the front or back may tell a different story. Potato chips are also a good example of why comparing package sizes visually isn't enough. One brand might offer a 7-ounce bag. Another might offer 8 ounces. A third might offer a family-size package with a completely different quantity. If you only compare the sticker price, you could easily choose the more expensive option without realizing you're getting less food. Instead, check the unit price. And if you have a preferred brand, pay attention to the net weight each time you buy it. You may notice that the package size has changed over time. Another useful trick is to compare the number of servings. If a bag used to provide more servings and now provides fewer while the price remains similar, that's a meaningful change for your grocery budget. This doesn't mean you have to stop buying chips. It simply means you should know what you're paying for. If the product is a treat your family enjoys, you can still buy it. But knowing the actual quantity allows you to compare it with other options and decide whether the purchase is worth the price. Potato chips earn the number 8 spot because their large, flexible packaging can make quantity changes less obvious than they should be. So next time you pick up a bag, ignore the size of the bag for a moment and check the weight, because that's where the real comparison begins. And the next grocery item is something many people keep in their kitchen for quick meals and snacks. Number 7. Cookies. We're now at number 7. And this is a grocery item where a small reduction in quantity can be surprisingly easy to overlook. Cookies. Think about a familiar package of cookies you've been buying for years. The branding looks the same. The box may be almost the same size. The product inside looks exactly as you remember it. But how many cookies are actually in the package? That's the number worth checking. Cookies are often sold in packages with multiple servings, and manufacturers can adjust the quantity without completely redesigning the package. You might still see the same familiar box sitting on the shelf. but the net weight may be lower, or the number of servings may have changed. This can be especially noticeable if your household buys cookies regularly. Maybe a package used to last 2 weeks. Now it disappears in 10 days. That difference might seem small on one shopping trip, but over an entire year, repeatedly buying slightly smaller packages can add up. That's why unit pricing is so useful. Instead of comparing only the shelf price, compare the cost per ounce or per 100 grams. 2 cookie packages might both cost around the same amount, but one may contain significantly more product. And don't assume that a larger physical box means more cookies. Some packaging contains considerable empty space for protection, presentation, or structural reasons. The net weight tells you what you're actually purchasing. Another thing to watch is family size or value packaging. Those labels don't automatically guarantee the best deal. Check the actual quantity and unit price before deciding. And if you have an older package at home, compare the net weight with the current one. That can be one of the easiest ways to notice a change. Cookies earn the number 7 spot because they're a common repeat purchase. Their packaging can remain familiar even when quantities change, and small reductions can add up for households that buy them frequently. The lesson isn't to stop buying cookies. It's simply to become a more careful shopper. Look beyond the picture on the box. Look beyond the headline price. Check what's actually inside. And the next grocery item is something that can make a surprisingly big difference to your monthly grocery bill. Number 6. Coffee. We're halfway through the list. At number 6 is a grocery item where even a small reduction in package weight can add up quickly. Coffee. If you're a regular coffee drinker, you already know how frequently you have to replace it. A package that once lasted several weeks may now seem to disappear faster. And that's why coffee is worth watching. Don't judge a coffee package by its physical size. Look at the actual net weight. A bag can look almost identical to one you've purchased before while containing less coffee. And because coffee is often purchased repeatedly, even a small quantity reduction can have a noticeable impact over time. For example, imagine a household that buys coffee every 2 weeks. If each package contains slightly less than it used to, you'll eventually need to purchase an additional package simply to maintain the same consumption. That's where the hidden cost becomes noticeable. Coffee also comes in many different package formats. Ground coffee, whole beans, instant coffee, pods, and single-serve packets. The quantity can vary significantly between these formats, so comparing only the shelf price isn't enough. If you want to know which option is actually cheaper, calculate the unit cost. Check the price per ounce, gram, or serving depending on what's available. Another thing to watch is serving size. A package might list more servings than you expect, but the recommended serving amount may be relatively small. If you use more coffee per cup than the label assumes, the package may not last as long. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It simply means the advertised number of servings isn't necessarily the number your household gets. If you're trying to save money, compare products based on how much coffee you actually use. You might discover that a slightly more expensive package provides better value because it contains more product. Coffee earns the number 6 spot because it's a frequent grocery purchase and small changes in package weight can have a cumulative effect on your annual spending. So the next time you're standing in the coffee aisle, don't just ask, which bag is cheaper? Ask, which bag gives me the most coffee for the money? And now we're entering the top 5. The next grocery item is something that many families use in lunches, breakfasts, and quick meals. Number 5. Yogurt. We're now in the top 5. At number 5 is a grocery item where container size can change without looking dramatically different. Yogurt. Walk through the refrigerated section and you'll find cups, tubs, multipacks, and larger family-size containers. But here's the important part. Don't assume a familiar-looking yogurt container still contains the same amount it did years ago. Check the net weight. A container can look almost identical while holding less product. And because yogurt is often purchased in multipacks, quantity changes can be even harder to notice. You might see a package containing several cups and think you're getting the same amount as before, but individual cup sizes can change. That means the total amount of yogurt in the multipack may be different even though the overall packaging looks familiar. This is where unit pricing becomes extremely useful. Instead of comparing only the total price, check the cost per ounce or per 100 grams. Then compare similar products. You may discover that a larger tub is a better value than several smaller containers. Or you may find that a supposedly cheaper multipack actually costs more per unit of yogurt. Another thing to watch is serving size. A yogurt container might list 2 or more servings even though many people naturally eat the entire container at once. If the container gets smaller but the listed serving information remains similar, your household may simply go through the product faster. That can make the change feel like a price increase even when the shelf price hasn't moved much. Yogurt is also a product where different varieties can have very different quantities. Greek yogurt, traditional yogurt, flavored yogurt, drinkable yogurt, low-fat options, and specialty varieties. So compare like with like. And don't let attractive packaging make the decision for you. The best habit is simple. Check the net weight. Check the unit price. Then decide whether the product still offers good value. Yogurt earns the number 5 spot because it's a common refrigerated grocery purchase, comes in many package formats, and small reductions in container size can quietly increase the effective cost of each serving. And now we're down to the final 4. The next grocery item is something that can disappear surprisingly quickly in many kitchens. Number 4. Shredded cheese. We're down to the final 4. At number 4 is a grocery item where a small reduction in package weight can be surprisingly easy to miss. Shredded cheese. Think about the standard bag of shredded cheese. The packaging may look familiar. The brand may be the same. The bag may even appear to be roughly the same size. But the actual weight inside is what matters. Cheese is a particularly interesting category because shoppers often buy it by the bag rather than by individual pieces. That makes it easy to focus on the price of the package without checking how many grams or ounces you're actually getting. A bag that costs slightly more but contains less cheese can represent a much larger increase in the effective price. That's why the unit price is your best friend. Compare the cost per ounce or per 100 grams. And don't assume that a larger-looking bag automatically contains more. Packaging can contain air, and different brands use different bag designs. The same visual size doesn't necessarily mean the same quantity. Multipacks can also make comparisons tricky. You may find smaller individual bags bundled together and marketed as convenient or family-friendly. That's not necessarily a bad deal. But calculate the total quantity before deciding. Another thing worth watching is how quickly your household goes through cheese. Maybe you use it for sandwiches, pizza, pasta, egg dishes, tacos, or quick snacks. If you're regularly buying another package sooner than expected, check whether the package size has changed. Even a relatively small reduction can become meaningful when you're buying the product every week. You can also compare shredded cheese with block cheese. Depending on local prices and your willingness to do the extra preparation, the cost per unit can sometimes differ significantly. The point isn't that one format is always cheaper. It's that the quantity and unit price give you the information you need to decide. Shredded cheese earns the number 4 spot because it's a frequent household purchase, comes in familiar-looking packages, and small changes in net weight can quickly affect your grocery budget. And now we're entering the final 3. The next grocery item is something almost every kitchen uses, and you may be surprised by how much the package size can influence its real cost. Number 3. Pasta. We're down to the final 3. At number 3 is one of the most common pantry staples in the grocery aisle. Pasta. Pasta is a perfect example of why you should pay attention to the actual weight printed on the package. For years, shoppers became accustomed to certain standard package sizes. But today, you can find different weights across brands, shapes, and product lines. A package may look like the same familiar size while containing less pasta. And because the difference can be relatively small, you might not notice it until you start comparing several packages side by side. The important number is the net weight, not the height of the box, not the width of the package, and not the picture on the front. The weight. Pasta is also a product where unit pricing makes comparison incredibly easy. If one package costs a little more but contains substantially more pasta, it may actually be the better deal. On the other hand, a cheaper package isn't necessarily cheaper per serving. That's why checking the price per ounce or per 100 grams can reveal the real value. There's another reason pasta belongs on this list. It's a product many households purchase repeatedly. You might buy several packages during every grocery trip. So even a small reduction in each package can accumulate over time. Imagine buying 10 packages over several months. If every package contains slightly less than it used to, you're paying repeatedly for the same meals while receiving less product. And different pasta shapes can complicate comparisons. Spaghetti, penne, rotini, macaroni, lasagna. Some brands use different package sizes for different shapes. So don't compare the price of two products without checking their actual weights. If you're trying to control your grocery budget, pasta is one of the easiest categories to optimize. Check the unit price. Compare brands. Look for sales. And buy the package size that provides the best value for the way your household actually cooks. Pasta earns the number 3 spot because it's inexpensive, widely purchased, easy to compare by weight, and small changes in package size can add up when you buy it frequently. And now we're down to the final 2. The next grocery item is something many people reach for almost every day, and its package size can quietly affect how much you're paying for every meal. Number 2. Bread. We're down to the final 2. At number 2 is one of the most frequently purchased grocery items in many households. Bread. And bread is an interesting example because the shrinkage isn't always obvious from the outside of the package. You may still see the same brand, the same style of bag, the same number of slices advertised. But the individual loaf can sometimes be smaller in weight, thinner in slices, or otherwise provide less product than you remember. That's why the net weight matters. Don't judge a loaf only by how large the bag looks. Check the weight printed on the package. And if you're comparing 2 different brands, check the unit price rather than simply choosing whichever loaf has the lower sticker price. Bread also has another factor that makes comparison difficult. Different loaves aren't necessarily designed to be identical. Whole wheat, white bread, multigrain, sourdough, sandwich bread, specialty varieties. The number of slices and the weight can vary significantly. So compare products that serve the same purpose. If you normally buy the same loaf every week, pay attention to how quickly it gets used. If your household suddenly needs another loaf several days earlier than normal, check whether the package weight or slice size has changed. That can be a more meaningful signal than simply noticing that the price went up. Another useful habit is checking the number of slices. A loaf can have a similar weight but different slice thickness. If you're using bread for sandwiches every day, that difference can affect how many meals one loaf actually provides. And don't automatically assume the biggest bag is the best deal. The actual weight and unit price tell you much more. Bread earns the number 2 spot because it's a frequent repeat purchase, highly visible to consumers, and small changes in loaf size can affect household spending surprisingly quickly. And now we've reached number 1. The final grocery item is one of those everyday products where a seemingly small reduction can quietly affect almost every shopping trip. Number 1. Paper towels. We've reached number 1. And this is a grocery store staple where package changes can be surprisingly easy to overlook. Paper towels. You might look at a large package and assume you're getting the same amount you've always received. But the important details aren't necessarily the size of the outer plastic packaging. They're the number of sheets, the sheet dimensions, and the total amount of usable material. Manufacturers can change roll size, sheet count, sheet dimensions, or the number of rolls in a multipack. And sometimes the package still looks remarkably similar. That's why paper towels deserve the number 1 spot. They're also a product households buy repeatedly. If your family uses paper towels every week, even a small reduction can become noticeable over an entire year. You may find yourself replacing the package sooner. And that means more trips to the store and more money spent over time. The best way to compare paper towels is to look beyond the package price. Check the total sheet count. Look at the dimensions of each sheet. And, when available, compare the total square footage or unit pricing. A package with more rolls isn't automatically the better deal. Those rolls might contain fewer sheets. Likewise, a package advertising a large number of sheets may use smaller individual sheets. The goal is to determine how much usable product you're actually receiving. There's another detail worth watching. Double roll and similar marketing terms don't necessarily tell you exactly how much material you're getting. Always check the actual specifications on the package. If you have an older package at home, compare it with a new one. Look at the roll count, sheet size, and total quantity. That's often the easiest way to notice whether anything has changed. You can also reduce the impact of shrinking package sizes by using reusable alternatives for appropriate household tasks. Cloth towels can handle many cleaning jobs. Reusable kitchen towels can reduce how quickly you go through disposable products. And when you do buy paper towels, comparing unit prices can help you find the best value. Paper towels earn the #1 spot because they're a frequent household purchase. Package quantities can be complicated to compare, and small changes in roll size or sheet count can quietly increase the amount you spend over time. So there you have it. 10 grocery and household store items worth watching for shrinkflation. Breakfast cereal, ice cream, potato chips, cookies, coffee, yogurt, shredded cheese, pasta, bread, and paper towels. But remember, a smaller package doesn't automatically mean something dishonest happened. Companies change packaging, product sizes, and formulas for many reasons. The important thing is knowing what you're actually paying for. Don't judge value by package appearance. Don't judge it only by the sticker price. Look at the net weight. Check the number of servings. Compare the unit price. And pay attention to how quickly the product gets used in your household. Once you start doing that, grocery shopping becomes much easier to evaluate. You may discover that a slightly more expensive package is actually the better deal. Or you may realize that a familiar brand isn't providing the value you expected. And that's the real lesson. Asterisk asterisk, don't just compare prices. Compare quantities. Asterisk asterisk. Because if the package gets smaller while the price stays the same, your effective cost has increased. So before your next grocery trip, take a few extra seconds to check the label. It could save you more money than you think. If you found this video useful, subscribe to Prepper Pulse and turn on notifications. We upload new videos daily with practical grocery tips, preparedness strategies, food storage ideas, and ways to shop smarter. Stay prepared, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.